DisJointed Productions.
Hey, what's shaking, everybody? Welcome to, well, I guess it's just another video, just me shooting the shit here. Another episode of the DisJointed Podcast. It was gonna be a food biz episode. And apparently, we're not gonna be able to do that today because my guest, who was gonna be Thor Marke, who's a guy who's been doing a lot of consulting and a lot of management and stuff like that. Been in the business for longer than I have, and we were gonna talk about the restaurant industry and all that other cool shit. So it was only, I guess, going to be cool for folks who really, really, really like talking about that kind of stuff. But other than that, I'm trying to figure out. Let me know if the audio sounds a little metallic or whatnot, guys. So, because I found out that as much as I thought I had all the settings done on OBS, apparently there was a couple things I was still fucking up on. So, either way, I'd appreciate that. If you see me go into a rage for no reason, it's because my wife's little chihuahua wants to growl at nothing right now, and I don't know, for some reason it just really pisses me off. But I guess one of the things that I wanted to talk about a little bit when it came to the restaurant industry was a lot of places have been hurting for employees, right? Everybody's hurting for employees. They can't find any good people to work for. I always attribute that to the same thing as when a guy or a gal says they can't find somebody worth dating. Okay? When one of your guy friends says, "Man, there's no good girls out there, bro. There's just no good girls. I don't even understand it. I don't even know they're not out there, bro." Yeah, there's a whole bunch of good women out there. Just you can't find any of them. And if you did, they don't want anything to do with you. That's what the problem is. That's the way the situation is. So you're gonna have to freaking work with that, right? So how do you do that? Well, you can try being a better person, but who's got time for that shit? Or you could try a lot of money, I guess. I don't know. Either way, I was trying to do a parallel between that and trying to find good employees. And the people who are the self-starters, the folks who were there like when your business was crashing, and they're the employees that help keep everything together, do all that stuff, they no longer work for you. As a matter of fact, they don't work for anybody. Chances are they're all doing Lyft and Uber at this point, or doing these quote-unquote side hustle jobs. And granted, I think that's a temporary solution. I would not want to do that full time, man, because I was a taxi driver back in Arizona. It was a couple of years ago before the Lyft and Uber thing really took off. And one of the issues is that your brain is constantly focusing on driving. That you try taking somebody who's making $200-300 a day, which is fantastic. More power to you, man. You're working it great. Now, see what happens when they try to take a day off and they just start going ballistic, because they can't, because your brain's already, it's, to me, it's not the healthiest way to live. It's a very lucrative way to live. Don't get me wrong. You'll make a lot of money, but you're not going to be very happy. So, or you might not. I guess I'd say it's not for everybody. So now the question is like, if for the service industry to try to get those employees back, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to do it? How are you going to entice people back? It's kind of like, I think it's ironic that Wall Street and the whole financial district is both the cause and the effect of not wanting to raise things like minimum wage or livable wage, which, by the way, that's not all the restaurants' fault. Okay. I mean, granted, there are people out there who own businesses who should not be owning business. They have a horrible business plan, and the only way they can get it to work is by hiring teenagers to work for them, or how I like to call it, barely legal child labor. And there's people like that, but then there's other like smart business owners, man, who are doing their best and stuff. They got the price point right, they got their matrix right, they're working on all this stuff, and still their employees are constantly bitching that they're not making enough money. That might not be because of them. That could be because of the housing market. Like in Denver, try to live just on your own. Just on your own with a decent job, man. Best of luck. You're going to pay at least over $1,000 or close to $1,000 for an apartment that's not riddled with bullet holes. You know what I mean? And there's a bunch of other shit that isn't necessarily affected by the owner. But the things that are affected by the business owners were for years and years and years. I would say mostly since the late 80s to the 90s. There's always been a trend that if you need to come up with revenue on your quarterly basis, is that you need to cut labor. Cut labor. All right, are we spending too much on labor? We need to cut that. Are we spending too much on managers? Let's cut that. And then basically forgetting that you actually need people to work the business. You know what I mean? So I know, like when I spent about 6 years in management, and one of the things that it was a sneaking suspicion in my head is that if the way most management salaries work is that, let's say, in order to run a business correctly, I'm going to need at least $55,000 or $60,000 a year. Okay, that's for me to be comfortable and also to be able to take on all the extra stress of running this business and all this other stuff, so you don't have to. 60 grand a year, and then the company says, "Well, okay, 60 grand a year, we can do that, but the thing is, how are we going to be sure if we're going to get our money's worth? So tell you what, we'll hire you for 45,000, and then we're going to put that last 15,000 in bonuses." Okay, so that way, if you're doing a good job, like you say that you're going to do, then you'll get that 60,000. All right, and like, okay, that seems reasonable. That seems fair. And at the time, I believe everybody with the best intentions that that's exactly what they're going to do. But what happens is that, holy crap, there was a hurricane somewhere on the East Coast, and now where we get a lot of our crops and stuff. Let's say I'm going to use a random vegetable. We'll say potatoes, even though they don't come from the East Coast. Uh, those used to cost me $20 a case, and now they're costing me $60 a case. So I'm losing money now because my price matrix, the way that I set it up, wasn't set up for paying fucking $40 or $60 for a case of potatoes. So that money's got to come from somewhere, right? So at that point, they're like, "Hey, you know what? Let's jack up the expected results that we needed on, let's say, quarter 3. That normally you would have been on track for by doing a good job like you always have been, but now they want you to do like a 6% increase for the month of July, which is almost unheard of in any business. The only way that's actually going to happen is if I go and actually set fire to the other restaurants that are around me, so that way everybody has to go to me. That's the only way you're going to get a 6% increase and still get that bonus. So that whole idea that bonus started out as an incentive program and then eventually turned into a cost saving measure, so you don't have to pay people as much. The trickling effect of that is that, and this happened to me when I worked for HMS Host back in during the housing market crash in Phoenix, Arizona. They froze all of our bonuses, right? So I was making about the same as most of the servers, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. Once they froze everything, I was making a good $10,000 less than all the people that I was supposed to manage. You think I gave a shit about inventory at that point? Think I gave a shit about their labor? The answer was no. No, I didn't. The only reason I even showed up on working time because I actually cared about the employees that I worked with. So I wanted to make sure that their lives didn't suck. But for the most part, any loyalty to that company that I had, that is gone. All right, gone out the window. Well, but with all their savings and shit. And then once you have a shitty manager, like I have been at times, that trickles down to having shitty employees and stuff. Just because nobody wants to give a shit anymore because they know they're being taken advantage of. You know, I can't tell you how difficult it is to try to care about a restaurant, to care about a staff, to care about the PMs, all that other good shit. When they say we can't afford to give you a bonus, and I know that I just helped them make 60 grand that week. Actually, 60 grand would have been low for that week because we made about 15 to 20, I would say, at least on a daily basis from Thursday to Saturday, and anything on the low end was probably 10 to 15,000. So it's just one of those things where, okay, it starts trickling down. So then you take on another aspect of like minimum wage. So nobody wants to go up to 15 bucks an hour because they say it's going to hurt business. Yes, as the way the business model stands right now, it's probably going to hurt your business. Things have to change. Either things need to get more automated and whatnot. I don't know, but I know that for a long time, if I sell, let's say, 50 burgers in an hour, and I'm only paying the kid, like a teenager, back on the grill, maybe $8 an hour, like, oh man, this is awesome. So they get used to making that profit margin, right? And then eventually that teenager grows up and says, hey man, I want to get an apartment, or I got my girlfriend pregnant. What are you going to do? You're going to tell the guy that's been working for you, working his ass off for you, showing up on time and stuff, like, fuck you. Nope, don't need you. I'll get somebody cheaper. When the rest of the employees see that, everybody goes, oh, you know what? I no longer give a shit about this place too, because this place doesn't give a shit about me, right? So now, what is kind of happening now is because they're saying, well, this is the market. And I always hate the whole idea when folks are like, talk about the virtues of the free market. It doesn't take a lot for a couple of business owners to get together and say, hey, listen, we don't need to pay these people this much. You know what I mean? Competition always isn't going to bring out the best thing. But either way, now that one of the constants that has always been great in the restaurant industry is that you could always find somebody to cover a shift, right? Whether if it was your floor, your front of house or your back of house, somebody always needs a job in the dish room. So there's always a server out there that needs a job. There's always somebody that you could find. So you never really had to deal with any of these issues like wage increases and all that other shit. Well, what's happening now is that everybody's starting to work for themselves. Everybody's becoming a Lyft driver, an Uber driver. I'm like, why would I bust my ass for somebody who does not give a shit about me when I can, bust my ass for myself? And if I'm not making enough money, that's all on me. Okay. So I guess my question was to the folks who were making all those decisions, how much money are you saving now by not having employees there? I've seen supposedly high-end restaurants trying to get by with 2 line cooks on a Thursday or Friday evening, when you need at least 5 to 7 people on that line. And they're trying to figure out what happened to their bottom line. Where'd all that go? It went out in your savings is what happened. People got tired of the bullshit. So it's a tough situation to be in, right? I've got plenty of personal feelings where I would want to, lambast these folks and stuff, but they're humans just like me, supposedly. But it's kind of like you could have had a better deal earlier if you just would have spent a little extra cash, and now it's probably going to cost you a lot more than you wanted to, and now it's really going to sting. So maybe cutting money on health insurance for your employees wasn't the best idea. You know what I mean? Maybe taking away little benefits wasn't the best idea. Maybe the fact that saving money by taking away somebody's vacation time or paid vacation time, maybe that wasn't the best idea. It's human beings that you guys are dealing with, and I'm trying to remember that, sending that out there into the ethos here. So the people who are making these decisions, chances are they haven't spent as much time on the lines. Maybe they haven't spent the only time. Most regionals or VPs in any company, the way that I've seen over the 20 years that I've been working in the food service industry, they pretty much manage like seagulls. Okay, seagull management is you fly into shore, you shit all over everything, and then you fly right back out again. Right? That's not actual work. I've seen this happen on my level, which I know I'm not that far up on the ladder when it comes to restaurants and shit like that. I know that. But I've seen a lot of folks who were hourly associates and they wanted to work up to management, okay, because they thought in their mind that when they get up to management, it was going to be easier and less work. And you find out once you actually get into management, you have a lot more responsibility and it is a lot more work, but not the same kind of work that you were doing. So I can only imagine that the higher a lot of folks worked up their corporate ladder, once they got up to regional and got up to all this other stuff for VP, they thought, hey, man, things are finally going to get easy and I'm going to make a whole lot of money. No, they got rewarded with even more work. And maybe they didn't, not everybody rises to the occasion. It's human beings, right? So, if you're as frustrated about all this shit as I am, man, feel free to share this video because the service industry is losing their workforce and they pushed them all away and now they're trying to figure out how the hell to get them back, It's almost like the service industry is like some drunk boyfriend who just basically gets all violent every Friday night. And now they can't figure out why the hell their girl left and took all their CDs. You know what I mean? Friggin' date myself, man. Holy shit. CDs? Who has CDs anymore? You kids don't have CDs. It's all MP3s and shit. I don't know. But like I said, unfortunately, Thor Marke, a good friend of mine, was supposed to be here. And we were supposed to talk about this stuff. He's actually way more articulate than I am. And hopefully we'll get him back another time. And we'll talk more about the food biz, man. So appreciate you guys for listening. We're gonna have I'm gonna start the program for the day. We've got John Brown. The audio is a little wonky on that, and I apologize, guys. That's just my shit. But definitely, hopefully, you enjoy it. You follow it. I'm trying to get up to 50 followers, man. So I appreciate every little follow, every little like, every little share. And if you want to hear the audio of any of these podcasts that are going to be playing here real soon, man, just go to disjointedpod.com. My podcast, the Disjointed Podcast, is on Stitcher, it's on SoundCloud, it's on iTunes, it's on all that stuff, man, on the Laughable app. Check it all out, subscribe, all that other good shit. So that being said, man, let's start the video queue, and you guys have a great day.